That is a bad sight for the lone leaders, because up at the front there, just around the corner, are the leading group of three. You can see the main field. There's a big lump of riders at the front, but then there's a huge, great long tail of a snake behind. That's an indication the pressure's on. They've moved out the yellow car, the neutral service car. That's an indication that the referees are now realizing that these three are about to get caught. 1 minute and 30 seconds at just outside of 15 kilometers to go to the finish. Benetton, you see the experienced rider. He's the oldest rider in the breakaway, the rider in second position there. That little hand signal for him was indicating to the other riders, keep riding, keep turning, keep sharing the pace. It's the only chance to survive. Bit of sadness at the back for Jimmy Engoulevent. Whatever that medical problem was that he had, he can't stick the pace of the main field. He will have to try and get to the finish now inside the time limit. He should be fine, because with 15 kilometers to go, he shouldn't lose all that much time in the overall standings, and he should get in before the big nasty clock stops on the finish line. But in the leading group of three, those three riders for a long time were friends. Now with that attack, the second attack by Nice, they're now friends and foes.
Yes, well, Jimmy's obviously not riding very well. He must be sick. He's nearly down the tail of the classification, half an hour behind the Maillot Jaune, which is Freire Gomez. You may have wondered where he was today. Haven't seen hardly a shot of him. He's right in the centre of the pack, keeping his nose clean, avoiding any silly crashes. He knows he'll be called upon tomorrow to prove his worth in the Pyrenees. Doesn't want to know anything about today's stage. As long as he finishes in the pack, he gets the same time as everybody else, which means there'll be no change overall. And that's all he wants to do today. Minute 41, 14 kilometers to go through. This is Jimmy Engoulevent, and I'm afraid he's saying goodbye to the peloton today.
Yep, it's goodbye for now, but is it going to be goodbye when we go into the mountains tomorrow? Because it's not good to be sick on a mountain stage. These are all the team cars behind. They're all stacked up in the same order as they stand in the overall classification. But actually at the Tour de France, there are two different convoys. There's a convoy of spare vehicles around about a minute behind that convoy, and they can be pulled up at any time by race radio to replace the cars that might move forward to go behind the breakaway.
Well, Jimmy might be finding his spare car behind him pretty soon, just checking a few stresses out. Sebastian Lang has been riding well in the time trials. He's cruising today, giving out 240 watts of power, so he's just on an average day as he sits in the pack. These are the workers here at the front of the race again. Still touch and go this if they pull them back. 13.5 kilometers to go, less now, nearly 13. A minute 33 the gap. It's going to be very, very good. There's the yellow jersey, Paul. We've seen him at last.
We've seen him at last. I saw him early on riding at the back. And there's a crash at the back. You mustn't ride at the back.
Well, how on earth does this happen? Simon Gerrans is down there just getting back on his bike. And again, another little tumble. It just happened so quickly at the back of the race.
That's Samuel Pluek from the Agri-Tabel team.
Take a look at this.
It is always at the back of the pack when the crashes happen. You see that one of the riders going down from Euskaltel on the right-hand side. Gerrans there in the blue and white jersey. He'll be waiting for the race to go into the mountains, and this looks like Fabian Wegman.
It looks like Fabian Wegman, yeah.
The problem with Wegman, I think, Phil, is he's probably waiting for a spare bike, because his bike must have been broken. David Lopez Garcia. He's the man in the far side on the orange jersey.
David Lopez Garcia is the rider nearest, furthest on camera. Although Fabian Wegman is just calmly standing there waiting for a bike. Could be losing a bit of time here if that peloton continues to race on. Again, a straight road, lack of attention. There was a rider from Lamprey involved here as well. The Lamprey team were up there helping their man get up into the action.
That is Daniel Ricci, who's gone down, having the mechanic alongside. Those riders probably will not see the main field again, because a crash at 12 kilometers ago. It's very difficult to nail back 30 or 40 seconds, because here we're going full bore at the front end of the main field. Starting to get a little bit of panic, because they're still only just on the time schedule for the favorite recipe. 11 kilometers to go, a minute and 15 seconds. It's going to be right down to the final couple of kilometers.
This could be in sight of the finishing line today if they don't hesitate. They might even stay away yet. There's still a chance for that breakaway. They've lost a few at the back of the field. Well, probably bad luck for them, but good luck for Jimmy Engoulevent, because he's going to find a few riders to go home with now.
All of the team cars have now been stopped. There you can see just the red car behind the riders. That is the referee. The yellow car is the neutral service station. And if these guys were to look over their shoulders now, they would see that right behind them is the main field, and that is exactly what Stéphane Ogier is doing, looking back to see what the situation is like. They mustn't give up, because as they get closer to town, at around about 5 kilometers to go, they get into the outskirts of Dax, and that's when the road becomes a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more tortuous, and that could provoke disorganization at the front end of the main field, although I doubt it, because the main field today have done a perfect job. The collusion of several different teams of the sprinters has come together to raise the average speed in the main field to well in excess of 50 kilometers an hour. 39 seconds, that's all that remains from a maximum of 7.5 minutes at one stage this afternoon, and now it's less than 10 seconds for every kilometer. Little shake of the legs there for Walter Benetton. Gets across to the wheel of Nice and says, no, I think I'll come forward. He knows that he has to keep working in a situation like this if they want to survive. But it's very unlikely they will survive with 7 kilometers to go and a 30-second advantage. At speeds like this, that corresponds to 500 meters.
Well, slightly downhill here, but nothing too helpful as they race in towards Saint-Paul-les-Dax, and then we'll make a right turn and head down towards Dax itself. The helicopter's pulling back here, which means you can get them all in the frame, I think. Watch the bottom picture. There they come. That roundabout taken on the wrong side for here in France. As they go round to the left of the roundabout, everybody breathe in. There's always a few go the wrong way, you see. Now that is a rather long way around that roundabout on the wrong side.
Extra 50 meters, and you see how much time and space they lost from being right at the front end of the main field. They come into the group halfway down. Another move by Nice.
Had to be another attack, and it's Christian Nice desperate here. He was the man that started this with a lone breakaway from the 8-kilometer point. Only Ogier and Benetton caught him, and they've been together more or less. This is his third attack now to try and break away.
Well, you see what provoked his attack there. He saw the motorbike with the cameraman on the back there, and he thought that's a good chance to get a slight bit of a slipstream. I might catch these guys out and get sucked away a fraction, but it really put pressure onto Stéphane Ogier, because that acceleration went up to 60 kilometers an hour, and he's now right up at the end of his heart rate monitor, because at the 189 maximum he is tickling 180 beats a minute. So Walter Benetton's the most experienced guy, says, right, you guys are hurting now, take a bit of this.
This is how you do it when you've ridden seven Tours de France. So far you've finished 6 of them, but they're all marking each other. They've really got to get on with this. This is no way to stay away from the bunch. 27 seconds. Just recently I saw down the road they are still out of sight, and while they're out of sight they've got a chance. Here comes Lamprey now for their sprinter Bernati.
But the problem with starting to attack each other like that, although you see a burst of speed at 60 kilometers an hour, when you stop, when you catch each other, then it drops down to 40, so it actually brings the average speed right back down. And for these riders, that is now going to be a fatal mistake, because look at the time gap being reflected. It's already down to 22 seconds. Benetton shaking his arm, turning his arm round like that. He says, come on, keep working, but I have to tell those 3 guys, sorry, it's all over.
Well, it may not be yet. To be around 3 kilometers to catch, as we thought about 30 kilometers ago. That's the way it looks like it's going to work out. So Christian Nice now left to the front, flick of the left arm, which indicates come on through and do some of the pacemaking. Meanwhile, Salvatore Camesso now drives for the Lamprey team. Magnus Backstedt is in here as well, as they all drive on now. Oh, it's not Magnus just behind, it's a teammate. But there's another attack by Benetton, and Nice is after him. Ogier, 10 beats off his maximum, decides to go a little bit later.
Well, this looks like France against Germany, if you ask me. Walter Benetton, very experienced, trying to prolong the energy here. He was in a situation like this a few days ago. But Nice, with a little bit of anger, closes down that gap. And if they look back now, Phil, around about 100 meters behind, they'll see the main field like a big mass spread out across the road.
This time it really is all over. 4 kilometers to go to the finish now. Here's the 3 leaders, and 5 seconds later comes the whole field in the Tour de France. This is going to be possibly the best sprint we've seen so far, and we've seen some great sprints. They will not give up, but the field behind just keep constantly on the rivet and bringing them back.
Well, there was a slight attempt there by Stéphane Ogier, but it wasn't great. There was not much firepower, and in the middle, Walter Benetton was going to have a go. But I think it's all over.
Laughing, but they wouldn't move it.
Goodbye, thank you, well done, and leave it up to the sprinters now.
The race has regrouped at 3.5 kilometers to go here. all together at 3.5 kilometres, looking to the right. Even Floyd Landis has brought his Phonak boys up, but still leaky gas, thinking of Luca Paolini, has got themselves back onto the front to drive the group through. We'll have to try and watch out for the arrival of the sprinters now. We are into the streets of Dax, and it gets pretty narrow as we cross the town.
Well, they need to straighten it out, stretch it out into a big long line, and I wonder if for Liquigas here this afternoon, having Mario Cipollini in the team car, they'll have that added little bit of motivation for Luca Paolini. These are the nasty little bends coming into the outskirts of town. This is where you need to be in the top 10, 15 places. Team Phonak looked like Robbie Hunter pulling off there, thinking, oh, I can't stay this close to the front without being close to my man Floyd Landis. Team CSC have got a number of riders up here to the front now. Wouldn't that be a surprise if Giovanni Lombardi spoiled everybody's party?
Well, CSC need a result. They've had a disappointing tour with the loss of Ivan Basso to start with, the crash of Bobby Julich in the time trial, the injury to Stuart O'Grady, the non-firing apparently of Jens Voigt. They could do with a result right now. These are the turns and twists in the town. The crowd are enjoying the spectacle, but that's why the pressure is on. If the pressure's on, the boys at the front pull this race out into a long, thin line and therefore keep themselves out of trouble.
Well, I've always said a sprint at 60 kilometres an hour is a lot safer than one at 50 kilometres an hour. Looks like Jimmy Casper's right up there in 4th or 5th position. So Team Cofidis have got the team orders right today. Go for the break. If the break doesn't work, let's try and get the sprint sorted out for Jimmy Casper. There you can just every now and again see the white shirt, the white elbow on the shoulders of Tom Boonen. He's right up there. He's got a teammate in front of him. I would think that will be Matteo Tossato. He'll be the man to try and lead it out for him. But queuing up, everybody is looking for the wheel, of course, of Tom Boonen here this afternoon. And, of course, where is the Scarlet Pimpernel? Is he still under Harry Potter's cloak?
I think he might be. At 2 kilometres to go now, around yet another roundabout. The leaky gas rider's done his day, done it well, if you ask me. Now he brought other riders. And, in fact, we've got Stuart O'Grady coming up on the left of our picture now. CSC, that's a typical move by O'Grady. Even with his fractured vertebrae, he's obviously feeling better. A good cheeky move by O'Grady, but I think Quickstep have him under control.
Well, Stuart O'Grady has tried to catch everybody unawares, but this afternoon, Team Quickstep have got themselves the big organisation. Tom Boonenfield there has got 3 riders in front of him. He's right on the wheel of Jimmy Casper. He won't be too happy about the Frenchman getting involved in his line there. O'Grady over to the left-hand side is not going to ride away from the front end of the main field this afternoon, because Quickstep this afternoon are trying to get a perfect lead out for big Tom Boonen.
Well, it's only taken 10 days of the Tour de France to get it organised for Tom Boonen. Maybe they've got the blue boys on the front. Boonen is in the white jersey, remember, the world champion. You can see him tucked in, and also we've got the Cofidis rider Casper just in front of him. Leaky Gas taking Paolini over to the left of our picture. Torhushoff is in the darker green jersey trying to get it. Eric Zabel is mixing it too, and I've just seen McEwen dead centre of your picture. He's not in a great position right now, but he always delays his sprint until the last possible moment here now. The lead out starts for Hushoff on the left, but Zabel's got in the train there now, and still no launch of Tom Boonen in the white jersey. Hushoff is the second wheel here as Hushoff strides now. Can he come through? And Bonen's going to launch down the middle. He goes on the far left of our picture, and on the far side and still boxed in, I think, is McEwen. Can't get out. He's all over the place and can't get out as Boonen now comes on the left, and he's got a long one here. Tom Boonen taking on Eric Zabel. Then comes Oscar Freire, and now comes Robbie McEwen. Where does he find the strength from? Oh, and I don't know who won that. And I think Robbie thinks it's Oscar Freire.
Well, Phil will have to have a side shot of that. They were all in a line on the road there, and it's very difficult. But Robbie McEwen, the way he tapped Oscar Freire on the shoulder there, I'd have to think it must have been Oscar Freire. Look at Boonen. Boonen was up on the inside, and it was a lunge for the line, Phil, as all of the riders are still massing up to the line. It is so close, that finish. Here is big Tom Boonen right up against the barriers. I tell you what, that was so close.
Close enough, in fact, to warrant a photo. That is to say, a still frame on the finish line computer, as it is these days, with not much more than a tyre width's worth of pixels between Freire in first and McEwen in second. Matt Rendell chased down Oscar Freire to break the news.
They say they think you have won.
They think you have won.
No lo sé, yo no estoy muy seguro porque en el último golpe de riñón McEwen le ha hecho y yo no lo he hecho y no lo sé si habré ganado todavía.
So there's the result. Freire, McEwen 1 and 2, then Eric Zabel third for the second time this tour,